Let's talk the shadow. For those of you who are not familiar, the shadow is the unconscious part of ourselves. And like the name says, it's a shadow. We can't see it. And this is why we need to bring consciousness to this part of ourselves so we can discover it. And why people call it the shadow is that they can often associate it with darkness. And darkness does not mean bad. And this is a trap that many people fall into, especially when they're looking from a ascent-based spirituality, which is finding love and the light. They can disconnect from this inherent part of themselves, which also disconnects them from their power. So if you're from a Jungian framework, you would be familiar with Jung's work on the shadow, the unconscious material. And what the unconscious is the parts of ourselves that we've rejected, disowned, or that just live in the collective unconsciousness. And now, what happens when we begin to bring our awareness to them is that we begin to re own these parts of ourselves. And anytime we reject any aspect of self, we disempower ourselves. We say, this isn't welcome and I must be a certain way. So, in the rejection of it, we push and force ourselves into a box. Now, when it comes to relationship or business, if you're limiting yourself because you have an idea of this is who you need to be, do you see the problem? You're not going to be able to show up authentically. You're not going to be able to show up in the expression you want. You're not going to have the boundaries you want. You're going to people please because you're like, I must do this because I'm liked and I can't own this part of myself that may want to say, no, fuck you. I don't do that. Maybe it's assertive. Maybe there's other parts of you. Maybe it's a trickster, the one who plays. All of these aspects of self are the ones that we can disown. Now, to begin to integrate your shadow, you must first bring awareness to what it is. And the quickest way to do this is ask yourself, who do you need to be to achieve the result? Who do you think you need to be? And ask yourself, what can you not be? What were you not allowed to be as a child? Because our shadow generally forms from our childhood where we had to disown certain aspects of ourselves to receive the love and validation from our parents, family, and society. So when we're removing them, we're actually coming back into a deeper relationship with ourselves. So what we're looking to do here is reclaim these aspects that have been lost along the way. And this is really powerful because when you're like, oh, now I can be more of myself, you tend to relax. If you're like, oh, I can be the fool, I can be different, I can be my weird self. Well, there's less pressure because you've taken yourself outside of the box and said, hey, it's okay to be me. That feels really fucking good. It feels really exciting because no longer have you put yourself into a box that's not truly you. And the box is a conditioned version of yourself, and the shadow lives outside. Now, when you begin to do this, you may reclaim certain aspects. So I can remember from me a time where I did this within business. I wanted to please my clients and people who knew me and knew my business. I wanted to please and make sure that they liked me because I associated them liking me with buying from me. And I do believe that people want to like the people they work with, but there was a subtle shadow of me manipulating people because I was like, if they like me, then they'll work with me. And this was the unconscious material I had to work through to come into a deeper sense of my power because no longer was it about, okay, I need to be a certain way for people to want to work with me. It was like, actually, I get to be me. If people like me, great. If they don't, they're not my people. And this changed how I was showing up in my business online because I was like, cool, I get to be me. And I stopped playing the pleaser, which ultimately led to my burnout at one point. And I started having boundaries. I started saying, this is what I need from my clients. I started changing the relationships and the dynamics. And what this did was allow a new caliber of clients to come in because people will want to access you through your own shadows. So if you're a coach, a leader, or someone else, if you don't have boundaries because you've disowned your protector, because you're like, I can't do that because there was negative masculine man in my life at some point. This could be the father, it could be someone else. And I can't be like that because I want to be nice, I want to be different. Well, people will latch onto you and bypass your boundaries because you're not willing to assert yourself. And this won't feel good. You'll feel drained. You'll feel resentful towards other people because you're like, I've got to do so much to be liked. And so when you start to re-own your shadow and own these aspects of yourself that you've dissociated from, you actually build a new way of being where you can feel more of yourself, feel more empowered, and just be you. This will change a lot in your life. So own your shadow.